Hey guys, welcome to the basement. Welcome to the live stream. I'm doing this through a hardwired Cat 5 cable, so I hopefully won't have as many audio disruptions. I apologize to you for what's been happening over the last few days. Let's hopefully see that this works better. It's a quick live stream, but we've got a lot to cover. There's so much going on. We're going to talk about the gold and silver price, of course, but what's the big news out of Goldman Sachs that has everything to do with gold and silver? And what did Reuters tell us about the SWIFT system and CBDCs that should have us shaking in our boots? Well, let's get started right away. I'm mad. Are you mad? Are you tired of the last few days? The COMEX or the LBMA, whoever, the paper traders, the manipulators, they're up to their old tricks. Have you noticed about 8:30 a.m. Eastern time the last few days? And we've talked about this a lot in the past. The price of gold up like $18, and then in the matter of like 10 or 15 minutes, smashed down. But they're having a hard time smashing it down too far. And I think in the end, we're going to see. Do you think? I mean, we know it's happening. We're going to see, right, continued levitation within the silver and gold price. And what about the stock market? Are you ready for a stock market crash? I was thinking this morning, like everything in the market, the general markets, the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, right? Record highs I keep hearing about. Guys, it is a big unicorn party going on, a unicorn fart dust party, whatever you want to call it. Make believe, funny money, magic money. You know, I was thinking about the stocks, like some of these big tech stocks like Apple and Tesla, and, the list goes on and on. Nvidia, right? These things are so crazy, richly valued, overvalued. When you look at like the price to earnings ratio, just so you know, like if a company has a 41 price to earnings ratio or even a 25 price to earnings ratio, which is pretty normal right now for a company in the S&P 500. That means, right? That means that it would take 25 years of pure profit being returned to investors just for them to break even at current prices. It's absolutely crazy. And it's even crazier when you compare what value you get for each dollar that you put into a lot of these stocks that are so overvalued right now. I'm telling you, a lot of times for every dollar you put in to the S&P 500, you're lucky to be getting 20 cents of assets, of real assets after you back out the debt. So I don't care what they say. The stock market in general is overvalued, but I would like to throw in that is not the case in the precious metal mining stock sector, where we see all-time record undervaluations. The HUI index, when compared, the Huey index, Huey to gold index, or Huey to gold ratio, I'm sorry, it's a ratio, comparing the biggest mining companies to the price of gold, it's near an all-time low. And oftentimes, for every dollar that you put into a precious metal mining stock, you're getting at least a dollar, and in some cases, even more in assets. It's the exact opposite of what we're seeing in the general markets, and especially within the tech sector. So I don't care what they say. It's getting crazy out there. Let's talk about Goldman Sachs quickly. What are they telling us about gold that should have all of us very, very happy? We have an article here from, hold on a second, make sure we got this right. Here we go. This is from Yahoo Finance. Gold's record march higher, set to continue, Goldman says. These are our friends at Goldman Sachs, who we're liking right now. Gold's roughly 8% month-to-date rally has room to grow, with the precious metal poised to hit $2,300 an ounce by year end, according to Goldman Sachs analysts. Okay, there was something interesting later on in this article. Basically, they're saying it's because the Fed's going to lower rates, which I don't necessarily agree with. I think gold is going higher and rates are not going to have to come down. What's going higher are inflation is going higher, and the price of gold, and the price of our best friend silver. All right. Goldman analysts upgraded their average gold price forecast for 2024 from 2090 to 2180 per ounce, targeting a move to 2300 by the end of the year. Hold on, they're talking about the possibility of another geopolitical surprise. A substantive retracement lower will likely be limited by resilience in physical buying channels, okay? Citing Chinese imports, right? The Chinese are buying gold like crazy. But there was something else in here. Here we go. Bullion's price increases have been disconnected from recent outflows seen in gold-related ETFs. Strategists believe investors have been rotating money into Bitcoin ETFs as the token roared toward new record highs earlier this month. Central banks have been buying up gold at historic levels, helping drive up the demand for the last couple of years. Okay. They say, nonetheless, in the midterm, we continue to hold a constructive view on gold, underpinned by eventual Fed easing, which, this is interesting, should crucially reactivate the largely dormant ETF buying. Yes, we have had ETF buying in the toilet, guys. I mean, there's no other way to say it, right? And it's actually a good thing. There's a silver lining, pardon the pun, to all this, that nobody retail investor wise has been buying gold. But when that changes, that offers so much runway for improvement, so much runway for more money coming into the gold sector. And you know exactly what that's going to do to the silver price as well. What about the big eclipse? We've got people, what is it, April 8th? There's an eclipse. You know, I remember the last eclipse. My daughters had just started kindergarten. So it would have been like September, October, probably of 2017, if I have that right, 2017, 2018. But we went up to their kindergarten and watched. It is freaky to be in a in a total eclipse, but they're warning, right? Like we're getting these doomsday warnings, like the cell phones aren't going to work. Stock up on food, stock up on medicine. And some of the these are just theories that I'm hearing being floated around, but people are starting to really kind of stir up a lot of furor surrounding this eclipse. I don't know what you think. Thank you, Ron McAdams, for the super chat. Super appreciated. And by the way, thank you for being here. Please give this a thumbs up. You are the most important part of this channel, of this live stream. So it's a big deal when you decide to give us some of your time and join us basement dwellers. 150 of us at lunchtime on a what? What is today? Wednesday? Wednesday, I think it is. Nonetheless, guys, what do you think is going to happen with this eclipse? Are you freaked out about it, right? Everybody's making a big deal, the eclipse, and it could be, you know, I don't know, like a black swan. It's expected. I guess it's going to be a black swan, right? Everything does go dark. Oh, I'll never forget sitting up at our daughter's elementary school, Susie and I, and they came out with their kindergarten class. They were only like a week or two. It was very sad. I'll never forget. I'm not going to tear up and cry, but I could, I'll tell you, because we were sitting there and we sat with the girls, and then they had to go back to school. They had to get in line. And I remember I'm getting in this line and I thought, oh, they're like little soldiers or something. I don't know if I like this, right? And watching them walk back into their school and their line, and man, time flies. Now they're in middle school, right? Always savor all these moments we have, and we'll savor this moment together here as well. Nonetheless, copper. Let's talk about copper. Everybody's talking about copper all of a sudden. It's maybe not officially a precious metal, but there's a big relationship between copper and silver. Let's just look at this real quickly to bring you, so you're on top of things. You want to know what's going on, huh? Look at this from Reuters. Funds stampede into copper as price breaks higher. In London, fund managers have rushed to buy copper after the price broke up out of its one-year trading range earlier this month. Activity has surged on all three global exchanges as money managers lifting bullish bets on both the London Metals Exchange and the CME, also known as the COMEX, if I have that correct, copper contracts. Market open interest on the Shanghai Futures Exchange has jumped to life of contract highs. So copper is taking off again. This is all part of the big commodity super cycle that we're hearing so Uh-oh. Are you there? There we go. So many people talk about. And part of that commodity super cycle is silver, gold, and platinum. Okay, so things are moving. Copper's moving. Now, I got to admit, the one copper stock that I own, Brixton Metals, it's down like 12% today. I was like, woohoo, copper's finally getting a roll. Brixton's going to get going. No. You ever have that happen in life? You ever have that happen when you own something, whether it's silver or gold or maybe a stock that you buy? And it's like when you buy it, it's almost automatic that within the next week you could have bought it for a lot cheaper. And I'm telling you, I'm just being honest. I'm not perfect. I've gotten better at this, but I always sold stocks too soon when they took off. And we really got to be careful. And we're talking about silver and gold, physical, it relates to that as well. It's so easy to sell too soon when things start taking off, right? How many of, I mean, you're not alone. I'll tell you, you're not alone if you're out there thinking, yeah, I sold this stock, XYZ stock, and then like 3 weeks later, it doubled in price. It happens to all of us. Nobody's perfect. Nobody can perfectly time the market. But it's interesting that we want to keep our eyes on what's going on with copper because copper does have a relationship, right, to oil. Copper does have a relationship to the silver market and the gold market as well. And things are starting to heat up in the copper market. What else do we have here? Huh? Oh, hey, let's talk about it, baby. Right? What's one of the big reasons why we hold silver and gold, right? Because they are the last bastion of privacy, financial privacy, as we move into a CBDC world. We need to talk. We haven't talked about CBDCs in probably a month, but there's a big story out of Reuters about what's going on with the SWIFT banking system that needs our attention. But first, if you want to get your hands on some silver, gold, or platinum, do yourself a favor, check out channel sponsor Pimbex, Pimbex, Pimbex.com, online bullion dealer, right? You'll find, but you need to find this out for yourself, that they are wonderful to work with. Read reviews, right? That's what I did before I worked with them. You'll also find they have great selection and their prices are always ultra competitive. My experience, almost always the absolute best prices out there. So if it's a company I can trust with great prices, hey, I'm all up for getting more metal for my money. You can check out the company for yourself, Pimbex.com. Thank you, Pimbex, for sponsoring Ron's Basement. Let's talk about what's going on here. Let's go to another article. I believe this one is from Reuters. Yes, another Reuters. Thank you, Reuters, for all your contributions today. The SWIFT planning launch of new central bank digital currency platform in 1 to 2 years, 12 to 24 months. I misspoke there. Okay. Why is this a big deal? We're going to get into that. Global Banking Messaging Network, SWIFT, is planning a new platform in the next 1 to 2 years to connect the wave of central bank digital currencies now in development to the existing financial system, it has told Reuters. Go back and read that paragraph again, guys. That tells us everything. The move, which would be one of the most significant yet for the nascent CBDC ecosystem, given SWIFT's key role in global banking, is likely to be fine-tuned when the first major CBDCs are launched. What is going on? Reuters is telling us that SWIFT, which is the West, the United States, basic international banking system, the system they use to conduct most all internet, like Russia got kicked out of SWIFT, right? Countries get kicked out of SWIFT. Reuters is telling us that it's basically preparing the system to work in a new CBDC platform environment. Let me remind you of a couple of things, okay? Silver and gold are the last bastions of financial privacy. That's it. Because when we go to CBDCs, everything that you do outside of silver and gold is going to be tracked. Everything will have a record. Everything will be tracked. There are some cautionary tales, I guess you'll say. There are some people that are warning. There's a range, right? I don't know where you fit in on this, but there's a lot of people who are very scared of what the new CBDC environment's going to look like. Look, I'm not trying to scare you. I'm not trying to create a fear environment or anything like that. But we know that the central banks, right, have a history of, let's say, not looking out for always the best interest of the common citizen. I mean, can we say that? I think we can say that, right? I think unfortunately that has been the case, statistically speaking. They'll say that they're looking out for the common man, but the reality is they destroy the lower middle and even middle class with inflation and money printing, while the ultra wealthy have done ultra great, right? If you're the richest guy, the one guy out of 1,000, you own 50% of the world's assets now, of the United States assets, but the average man has been suffering. So why would the CBDC situation make things any different? Some of the things that people are afraid of: tracking all of your financial transactions, the potential. Okay, the potential, because we hear stories that this is the case in China where they've rolled out a CBDC, but the potential that this new CBDC monetary system could actually control how, when, and on what you spend your money. I've even heard some people put forth the idea that like you could get money deposited into your account, but it would have like a time limit on it. Like you have to spend this by, like if you buy a gift card that expires after 6 months. So the prospects of what we could be seeing with this are quite scary. They could control. You hear these stories, right? I'm not saying that I believe this absolutely is going to happen, but you hear stories that like they can control, like if you bought a steak on Monday and enjoyed it and decided on Thursday that you want to eat another steak, that you would go to the grocery store and try to buy that second steak, and they'd say, sorry, you're not allowed to buy 2 steaks during a week because beef production is bad for the environment. There's all types of, controlling when you travel, where you can travel to. Again, I'm not presenting to you that this is absolutely what this system would look like. That's kind of the worst case ideas that are being thrown around out there. But we do know. Thank you, Cliff. Tom, thank you, my friend, for the super chat. We do know, I think that at minimum, it would give the government more control over the monetary system. And guys, you're a silver investor. What does that mean for you? You're a physical gold investor. What does that mean for you? That means that whatever silver you might be holding, you probably have a piece that you could reach out and touch right now, right? That is outside of the grasp of this CBDC environment. Now, we're even seeing with some of the legal tender legislation that's being passed and being worked through the legislative system in a number of states around the United States. Some of them are putting in anti-CBDC type legislation. So it's going to be, man, the next 10 years, I mean, do you feel it? It's going to be like absolutely crazy. Thank you. Eat healthy and try the elimination diet. It tells tales. Okay. Everybody thank you, Chris, for the super chat. And thank you for your email earlier. And yes, everybody talks about the elimination diet. When I get time, I'm going to read about it, because you know what? But really, what's more important than anything to you or to me or any of us, our health, right? Our families and our health. So thank you so much. Interesting point. You may not have heard of this. The tech insiders are selling their stock at a faster rate right now than any time, excuse me, in the last 3 years. Yeah, the big boys at the tech companies are abandoning ship. And let's just talk about silver. I heard this presented yesterday, and I thought I got to share this with the people. I got to share this as well. Here's our newest member of the basement community. I think we need to come up with a name for this guy. Isn't he cool? Look, he's like a crystal or something. I think he used to work at the Comex, possibly. I'm not sure. Anyway, my dad gave me that. I was over this morning for the last 4 hours doing my parents' taxes. I do have a degree in accounting. That's why when I'm talking to you about these financial statements, I'm not bragging, but I know what I'm talking about. Like a musician can read music, I can read financial statements, and I can tell you about things like valuations. But nonetheless, I'm driving home from my mom and dad's. They live about 20 miles away. Wonderful people. They're in their 80s. Wonderful, wonderful people. And let me ask you a question. I don't know. Am I the only guy that thinks like this? Because they live in kind of the newer part of St. Louis where there's a lot of new home construction still going on. And I'm driving down the highway and I drive by this new neighborhood. This was a floodplain, okay? And they filled it in with concrete and fill dirt over the last, I don't know how many years, probably 5 years. I'd go see it happening. And then it's like a big flat area. And now they're building these houses. And I'm driving by and I'm like, it looks like a bunch of plastic boxes. I'm sorry. And they're all right next to each other. And they're nice houses. And I know because I went online and looked, these things start at $600,000. $600,000. I almost said per year. No, $600,000. And I'm driving and I'm thinking, how can that be? How can a plastic box on top of a bunch of scrap concrete and fill dirt, how can that be worth six? And then I thought about this. Think about this. 600 grand. I thought that's like one man or woman, one construction worker, right? That makes 50K a year, spending 12 years. And that's not if we don't even tax them. That's 12 years of their work to build one of these plastic boxes. I'm like, I don't see it. I don't see the value there. It's out of whack. Who can afford this anyway? Right? Who can afford starting that? Most of the houses probably cost 800,000. I know a lot of you probably live in areas where $1 million's nothing for a house. This is St. Louis, the armpit of the country. We love it. We love how it smells here in St. Louis. I love St. Louis. Okay. I joke around, but I love my city, but houses are cheap. Houses is cheap. Houses are cheap. I do have a degree in college from a university. Houses are cheap. How can it, 12 years of one man's work equivalent for this plastic box, a bunch of pine sticks with some plastic strapped on it. It doesn't make any sense. I digress. Okay. Silver. That's what you're here for, basement dwellers. And thank you guys for the thumbs up. We got 300 people, 300 basement dwellers. Let's get it at 300. Susie's going to yell at me when we get to 100 thumbs up, and I'm going to ring that bell for you. The thumbs up helps get the word out to more people. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for all the packages you guys have been sending me. I got a pocket pinger in the mail today. When I go to work tonight, I'm on my break at work, I'm going to read about the pocket pinger. Very interesting. Silver. Oh, let's look at a piece of silver. What do you say? Huh? Let's look at this from Silvershire. Something about the coloring on this. I love this. For those of you who aren't aware, look at that. That's what you want to own. Okay. Bell time. All right. Susie's yelling at me. Do I have the walkie? Susie, are you there on the walkie? Okay. Nope. She's yelling at me from upstairs. This is the bell. This is for you. 100 thumbs up, 10 rings of the bell. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Sorry, I forgot to warn you if you don't like the bell. To mute your microphone, And don't forget, guys, look, if it really is the end of the world, when the eclipse happens, it's been great knowing you, okay? It really has. Made a lot of great friends. You are important. You love your silver. Let's talk about silver, though. I have some data for you. 16-1 is what silver exists in the ground in relation to gold. If you take the whole crust of the earth, there's 16 ounces of silver for each 1 ounce of gold. Now, nobody could tell us more about that than our friends at First Mining Gold channel sponsor. They have 2 multi-million ounce projects in Canada. You can learn more about them at firstmininggold.com. And Fortuna Silver, they can tell you about both because they mine right now 5 operating mines mining both gold and silver. You can learn more about Fortuna at fortunasilver.com. So there's on the whole earth. Isn't that crazy? I often tell people where I work, they look at me a little cross-eyed. I say, I work there, complain. I'm like, at the end of the day, we're on a rock that's flying around a burning ball of gas, right? Earth is a rock and it's flying around a burning ball of gas. That would be the sun. But if you take that rock that you and we share this rock together, and you take all the silver and all the gold and suck it out of the ground, there should be about 16 times more silver than gold. Did you know that? You probably did, but I got more. Don't you worry. Okay. What's interesting, very interesting, is that right now, baby, right? As you and I are on this live stream, silver and gold are being mined out of this rock that we live on. But for every 1 ounce of gold that comes out of the ground by mining companies, only 7 ounces of silver come up. A lot of people say that's because, silver, the easy silver is up close to the surface. Most all the easy silvers, bye-bye, gone, right? It's all gone. So they're only getting 7 ounces of silver. What's even crazier, and I won't beat this, but it's something that all of us basement dwellers know and love to remember, is that I'm hearing different numbers. I hear 50%. What do you think? Is it 50%, 60%? Last night, I heard somebody say 70% of the silver that comes out of the ground now is consumed by industry. And silver's still a precious metal. It's precious, right? It makes no sense. Okay. What, Christopher? I'm going to get back to silver. I saw a comment that said outhouse. Okay. Well, I missed it already. Christopher DuBois. All right. Hey, thank you guys. All right. Hold on. Back to this. Okay. On top of all this, don't forget, most of the silver comes from Mexico. And guess what? Mexico is outlawing open pit mining. Where's the silver going to come from? Right now it's coming out 7-1. Pretty soon it's going to be coming out at 6-1 or 5-1 relative to gold. Okay. And we are over history. Okay. Think about this. Over history, the gold to silver ratio, silver to gold ratio, however you want to say it, right? The price, which right now is near 90. Right now, I'm hearing authorities say that basically, historically, it's been closer to 15-1. And we have a shortage right now. We have a shortage of silver. Really? Okay. And the price? What? Well, it was up. Let's check. Here, you know what? Why don't we go on out? Bear with me. It's time for us to do a price check at Pimbex, channel sponsor. Okay. Hey, gold, guys. I'm going to refresh that. Gold is up almost $13 and silver. All right. We'll take it. Yes, we'll take it. Don't you just love silver? Look at that. You can get American Silver Eagles as low as $29.35. That's probably if you buy like 500 of them. Let's just look. Curious what the price is to buy. Let's say, always buy this way, guys. Never buy silver. You do whatever you want, just my opinion. But credit card, you're always going to pay more, and it's just trust me. That's all I can say. Well, that's if you want my opinion, don't ever buy silver on a credit card. Okay. But yeah, you can buy 20. You can still buy a roll of 2024. These are, yes, American Silver Eagles for less than $30. Need I remind you that I'm just want to go look. I love 10-ounce bars. Sorry. You guys want to go shopping with me? Let's go shopping. Let's see what they got here. Those were my all-time favorites. Royal Canadian Mint bars. Istanbul. Those are cool. The Pamp bars are cool. So it looks like, wow, you can get a Pamp bar for $26 an ounce. Man, the premiums are so low right now. Hey, I have one of these, 10-ounce Britannia. Those are very nice bars. And I gave one of these away. Pembex sent me one of these Geiger bars. By far, the prettiest 10-ounce bar I've ever held. Very, very, very beautiful. So where was I? Oh, okay. So right now, this is breaking news. Okay. Right now, the gold to silver, silver to gold, however you want to say it, ratio is almost 90-1. In 2011, okay, the silver to gold, gold to silver ratio went all the way down to 30-1. That would be like the silver price right now being $75 per ounce. It will happen again. Let me ask you guys. Let me ask you a question. I'm gonna say it's gonna happen in the next 5 years. Okay. So I think that in the next 5 years, the lowest we'll get the silver to gold ratio will be 30. Why don't you put it in the chat? Tell us what you think. Scottsdales are very nice. Yes, absolutely. Garbage man, 30. Oh, that's me, both. I'm reading my own comments. Welcome to the fun house, right, guys? Oh, boy. Okay, blah, blah. Michael says, yeah, there was some, I just want to state for the record that in regards to this, well, I'm just going to leave that all alone. I'm going to leave that all alone. Okay. Shares are coming in the comment. Okay. Blah, blah. Anybody else have any? I'm curious. Anybody else have any thoughts on a 40 to 1? Daniel Cassidy says 100 to 1. Craig says 41. Metal Seer, Australia just passed. Yeah, I've heard there's something going on in Australia, guys, right now. I know somewhere in this pile, right? Somewhere in this pile of papers, these are the papers. This is what I, believe it or not, prepare for these live streams over probably about 3 months worth. Was it Macquarie Bank? I don't know, like the second biggest bank in Australia was basically outlying cash. Like the only way you could get cash from this bank is to withdraw, and they limited how much you could out of an ATM. They weren't going to let, if I remember this correctly, they weren't going to let people deposit cash at the branches. They weren't going to let people withdraw cash at the branches, and you weren't going to be able to deposit. It was weird, and it was like the biggest bank or the second biggest bank in Australia. So there's a lot. That's kind of faded away. Have you noticed that this whole CBDC thing? I mean, it seemed like 6 months, a year ago, there was a lot more interest surrounding it. That is the fiat of fiat. I talked about the big tech stocks being the unicorn fart dust on top of the unicorn fart. I mean, these big tech stocks, their valuations are crazy, but on top of that, we're valuing it in dollars, which is make believe, funny money, right? And I think the CBDCs, the same thing can be said. Completely digital. I mean, well, hey, yeah, let's make some more. Sure, type the keys, right? Let's make more. Let's make more. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting how the crypto world fits in with, or is possibly at odds with, the CBDC world as things come through. So, we'll see how it plays out. It's going to be very, very interesting. Yes, I do believe that in the next 5 years, we could see the gold to silver ratio hit 30. And I'll call it the gold to silver ratio. I was wrong. I kept calling it the silver to gold because it said you need 90 ounces of silver to get 1 ounce of gold. But they call it the gold to silver ratio because you take the gold price, and that's the numerator, and you divide it by the denominator, which is the silver price. And that's how you get the ratio, which right now you divide what? $21.80 for gold divided by $25 for silver, and you're going to get something in the high 80s. I think that'll get to 30. And if we were at 30 right now, we would have $70 silver. And that's where silver, does it feel like to you that's where silver should be right now? Look at all those numbers we just went over, right? It's 16 to 1 in the Earth's crust. It's harder to find because they only get it out of the ground at 7 to 1. And then that 7 to 1 they get out, 60, 50, 70, whatever it is, percent of it gets consumed by industry, and that's growing. And you're going to tell me it really is the most undervalued asset on the face of the earth. Maybe they're telling us the truth, right? Look, I could be wrong, right? Maybe we're going to see 14. Could you imagine $14 silver? Can you imagine any real asset in this fiat cluster bomb in which we're living right now, any way, shape, or form that you're going to value your silver against paper dollars? You're going to value your silver against electronic CBDC money? There's no comparison, right? Take 3 ounces of silver and hold it in your hand. And in your other hand, put a $100 bill and close your eyes, right? And then look at them. Look at the beauty even. Look at the amount of energy that went into getting that silver out of the ground. How much energy do you think it takes to print a $100 bill? I got news for you. It's not a lot, right? There's no comparison. Okay. No comparison. Hey guys, thank you for joining me today. My plan is to be back on tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'm interviewing David Morgan from the Morgan Report. I'm really looking forward to that. I got a bunch of big interviews coming up. Keith Newmeyer, David Morgan, David Anderson? Man, no, I'm screwing up his name. But the guy who puts out a video every week from SD Bullion. I've got a whole slew of really great people that are going to be coming on the channel that we're going to be doing interviews with. So look forward to that. Jordan Burnroy from the Daily Gold Report. I mean, just some really fun people coming up. Should have some great information, some great perspective. I mean, David Morgan, by the way, Lynette Zhang thinks Bitcoin to condition us. Very interesting, Metal Seer. I'll tell you what I think in a second. But David Morgan was the guy who called the high in the silver market back in 2011. And I've heard him say like he's taken some grief for that. So he's a silver bull, but not afraid to say like when he thinks the market's got too frothy, too hot. But super respected guy. So we're looking forward to that. Yeah, I know that Metal Seer, there's this idea that the crypto world was kind of, and even in this article we read today, right, that the Bitcoin ETFs are taking money out of the gold ETFs. It's interesting. I don't know that I'll say, and I'm not anti-Bitcoin. I'm not anti-crypto. I don't own any. So, I'll say that I don't own any Bitcoin, any crypto related investments. But I will say this about Bitcoin, what I don't get about Bitcoin is we don't really know where it came from. And, or at least as far as I know, there's these theories about who made it, who invented it. And, the other thing is that, we share so much with the crypto community in terms of our views of the monetary system, our views of the fiscal situation in the world right now. I think that we have a lot of common ground, but at the same time, obviously can be some contention as well. So I just kind of let them be. And I don't want to bash anybody who knows, right? But one thing I'll say about Bitcoin is now that where the ETFs kind of financialized Bitcoin. One of their big claims to fame was we exist completely outside of the traditional financial world, traditional financial system. And then, but BlackRock's going to make a Bitcoin ETF. Fidelity, whoever else make Bitcoin ETFs. Didn't you just financialize yourself? So not too much different than when they launched the futures contracts in the mid 70s for silver and gold, and the gold and silver ETFs, which I think that was in the early 90s. So anyway, we'll see how all that plays out. Thank you guys for being here. Okay. I'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Have a great day. And thank you to the moderators as well.